to kiss her burial. The ship is sunk and dead. Kiss is personification used here. Okay. Should I go to church and see the holy edifice of stone? The holy edifice of stone means, as you know, the church building is made of stones. So stones, he says, also reminds him of the huge stones in the ocean. And now bethink me straight of dangerous rocks. Now bethink me, I would be sure to remember. I would at once, he says, Salarino says that he would at once be reminded of the submarine rocks which would strike against his ship and wreck it. When he sees those stones in the church, they also remind him of those stones in the ocean which can wreck his ship. Okay, this dialogue is continued. Which touching but my gentle vessel sighed. Gentle vessel here means the gentle ship that might strike against dangerous rocks, would scatter all her spices on the stream, enrobe the roaring waters with my silks. Okay, so he says that I can imagine my gentle ship touching those rocks, and I can imagine all the spices scattered in the stream, and enrobe the roaring waters with my silks. Enrobe means covered. Okay, so he says that I can picture, or I can imagine these things about the ship when the rocks would strike against my ship and break it into pieces, and in the bosom of the sea I could see the bosom of the sea covered with all the silken articles, and the water perfumed with the spices and the things. Okay, and now and laugh like parrots at a bagpiper. Okay, like parrots. Now what is this word like over here? This is simile, use of simile. What is simile? As in the previous lecture we have discussed metaphor. What was metaphor? That was also a comparison of two things, and this is also the comparison. Simile is also a comparison of two things in which the words like as and like are used to compare two things. Okay, so here he is comparing the ones who laugh so wildly with parrots. So he's saying that as parrots used to laugh at a bagpiper. Bagpiper is a musician who plays with having a bag of pipes. So he says that parrots laugh at bagpiper and other of such vinegar aspects. Vinegar aspects mean sour looks, the ones who have looks as sour as vinegar. Okay, again comparison. Okay, so which comparison is this? This is metaphor. This is not simile, because this is also comparison, but the word as or like, they are not used. Okay, so by this he means others who wear such sour looks that they do not show the slightest puckering. Slightest puckering means creasing of smile on their lips, and that they all not show their teeth in way of smile, though Nestor swear the jest be laughable. Okay, Nestor is so he is again comparing those serious one with Nestor. I will explain Nestor. Okay, Nestor was the oldest and gravest of Greek heroes in the Trojan War. I will explain this. Let me first finish explaining the previous lines. So he says that the others who wear such sour looks that they do not show the slightest creasing of smile on their lips, even when Nestor, the gravest man on earth, would be tempted to laugh. Okay, so Nestor is considered as the most serious, the most gravest man on the earth. So he says that even if he laughs, those who pretend to be the gravest, they don't even show a crease of smile in their face. Okay, so Nestor was in Greek mythology the Trojan War, which I have mentioned earlier about Nestor, that he was a Greek hero of in the Trojan War. In Greek mythology, the Trojan War was waged against the city of Troy by Achaeans, 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 and Achaeans Greeks, after Paris of Troy took Helen from her husband, who was the king of Sparta. The war is one of the most important events in Greek mythology and has been narrated through many works of Greek literature. You can search about Trojan War and you will get the answer. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So as you can see, this is the image of a bagpipe, a bag having different pipes. Now enters Bassanio, Lorenzo and Gratiano on that scenario. Salanio, here comes Bassanio, your most noble kinsman. Kinsman mean male relative. So he says, here comes Bassanio, your honorable relative, accompanied by Gratiano and Lorenzo. So he says that here comes Bassanio, your most noble kinsman, along with Gratiano and Lorenzo. Fare ye well. Fare ye well means goodbye. Okay, not in love neither. Not in love neither. By this he means that it means you are not in love even. That is not the cause of your sadness. Then let us say you are sad because you are not married and were as easy. Okay, so this whole means, then let us admit that you are dejected because you are not glad at heart. It were mean it would be the reason. Then if it's not love, then the reason would be that you are not married, that you are sad. Okay, next line. For you to laugh and leap. What is this laugh and leap? Again, alliteration. For you to laugh and leap and say you are merry because you are not sad. Now by two-headed Janus. Okay, so by laugh and leap he means that you should then laugh and dance. Laugh and leap mean laugh and dance. So he suggests that Antonio that Antonio should laugh and dance and say that he is merry, not sad. Two-headed Janus is this is the attribute to those who have two faces. Okay, so by two-headed Janus he means in the name of Janus. Okay, I'll explain it in the next slide. Okay, in ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus was considered as the god of gates and transitions and beginnings and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces, since he looks to the future and to the past. Okay, so two-headed Janus is represented with two heads because every door looks both ways, every head. Okay, as I've told you that a two-headed Janus means, it was myth in Roman religion that Janus was considered as the god of doors and gates. So two-headed Janus is represented with two heads because every door looks both ways, every head you can say look both ways, inside and outside. So Salarino is describing two different kinds of men here, the merry one and the grave one, the serious one. So he swears by the two-headed Janus. Okay, so the dialogue is continued, and in the next line he says, nature hath framed strange fellows in her time. Strange fellows he means very peculiar, unusual people. So by this he means that God has created strange creatures, okay, some that will evermore peep through their eyes, peep through their eyes means when an eye appears half shut while laughing. Okay, so these two lines means he says that God has created strange creatures who go on laughing wildly even at the slightest things. You got it? In her time mean ever since nature has been making human beings. So her here it is used for nature. So he says that ever since nature has been making human beings, she had made strange creatures. Now he further explains that those creatures who laugh very widely even at the slightest things. Okay, so you got it. And in the next line, peep through their eyes, as I've told you, means when an eye appears half shut while laughing. This is a very picturesque image. Picturesque mean having qualities of a picture. It is from picture, Picturesque, picturesque. Okay, it means having qualities of a picture. Okay, so by saying so, a very picturesque image of the countenance in laughing when an eye appear half shut. Have you ever seen someone at the time of laughing when their eye gets shut? And robe the roaring waters with my silks, and in word, but even now worth this, and now worth nothing. Okay, enrobe means covered. So he says, enrobe the roaring waters with my silks. When the rocks would strike against my ship and break it, the bosom of the sea would be covered all over with the silken articles. And in a word, but even now worth this, and now worth nothing. So he says that I can imagine the whole sea covered with my silken articles, and the water perfumed with the spices, and the things that were so precious a moment ago would be absolutely worthless now. Okay, fine. Shall I have the thought to think on this, and shall I lack the thought? Shall I have the thought means if I can picture or imagine these things about the ship, or shall I lack the thought? Shall I lack the thought means then I cannot escape the thought of some possible mishaps. Okay, that such a thing bechanced would make me sad. Such a thing bechanced means that if such a thing happened, if there was a shipwreck, if I can picture all these losses, thoughts of such losses can make me sad. But tell not me, I know Antonio is sad to think upon his merchandise. I am sure, he says. Okay, so I am sure and I know that can only be the reason for Antonio's sadness, for the because of his anxiety for his ships. Okay, so Antonio says, believe me, no. He says, I tell you truly, I assure you, that's not the reason. I thank my fortune for it. Fortune here means good luck. So he says, you are mistaken, my friend. I assure you, I am not worried about my merchandise or my goods for sale. I feel myself lucky for it. Why? My ventures are not in one bottom trusted. Ventures means merchandise that was out on the sea. Bottom, ship. So he says, I feel lucky. You are mistaken. I am not worried about that. The reason is that my merchandise has not been sent out in one ship. I have not trusted any one ship to carry out my goods, nor to one place, nor is my whole estate upon the fortune of this present year, nor to one place, and all of my ships are not sailing in one direction. Okay, so he says that it is my good luck that I have not risked all my merchandise in one ship, nor to one place, nor I have, when he says nor is my whole estate upon the fortune of this present year. By this he means that nor I have stacked all my wealth on this year's trade. Therefore my merchandise makes me not sad. So he says, so you are mistaken in guessing or in judging that I am sad because of that. So I am not feeling sad on that account. Estate here means wealth, merchandise. The fortune of this present year means the fortune of the hazards of, the dangers of what may happen. Okay. So is it clear up till here? So moving on to the next dialogue, that is of Salarino. So Salarino says, why? Then you are in love? Okay, so Salarino suggests any other reason. That okay, if that's not the reason, then you might be in love. So Antonio reacts somewhat like this. He says, fie. Fie means shame. Nonsense. It is shameless on your part to suggest that I, a middle-aged man, am in love. So you're wrong in that too. Salarino says, not in love neither? Oh, so it means that you're not in love. Fare ye well. Fare ye well means goodbye. Okay, so we leave you now with better company. Better company, by better company he means company of Bassanio and others, the other two friends, Graciano and Lorenzo, which Antonio is likely to find more enjoyable according to them. Let us place you now in the hands of better persons. Salarino. I would have stayed till I had made you merry, if worthier friends had not prevented me. Salarino says that he would have stayed till I had made you merry means till with my jokes and jests I had removed your sadness. Okay, so he says that I could have stayed until I had made you merry and removed your sadness with my jokes and jests. If worthier means better or nobler, friends had not prevented me. Prevented here means anticipated, had not arrived to prevent me. So he says, if better companies had not stepped in, I would not have left you unless I had made you cheerful. Next, Antonio says, your worth is very dear in my regard. Dear means high. By this he means that Antonio says that he greatly regards his company. I value you very highly, he says. I take it your own business calls on you. Take means consider or think. Your own business calls on you means that you might have to attend some job, and that is why you are getting hold of the opportunity. Which opportunity? To leave me. So you are availing this opportunity to leave me. Salarino says, good morning, my good lords. Okay, good morrow means good morning. My good lords mean venerable or honorable gentleman. So he says that embrace in the previous dialogue of Antonio means use or utilize. I think I have skipped a line. And you embrace the occasion to depart. And you embrace means you are using the occasion, this opportunity, this occasion, when Bassanio and others have arrived, and you are taking this opportunity to depart. So Salarino also says, good morrow, my good lord, means good morning, my venerable gentleman. Bassanio says, good signors both, when shall we laugh? Say, when? Okay, good signors both means my two good friends. As I have discussed this earlier as well, that signors, it is an Italian word equivalent of Mr. in English, as we say Mr. in English. So he says that Good seniors both. When shall we laugh? Say when. Means when shall we laugh? When would you give us your company so that we may laugh and talk together for some time? Next line, you grow exceeding strange, which means we see so little of each other that we have almost grown strangers. Must it be so? Must it be so means should we continue to remain strangers in this way? Would we not enjoy each other's company? So Bassanio questions them that when would you give us the chance to meet again? Salarino says, we will make our leisures to attend on yours. So he says, we are ready to meet you whenever you are free and at leisure. Okay, so exeunt Salarino and Silanio. Salarino and Silanio, they leave. Okay, so we stop here with that dialogue of Salarino, and I am here with the assignment, the next assignment, where you have 2 tasks to accomplish. 2 questions are there. Why is the title of William Shakespeare play The Merchant of Venice named after Antonio? And why does Salarino refer to Antonio as the two-headed Janus in The Merchant of Venice? Okay, so that was all for today. I signing off from this session, from this podium. Allah Hafiz. Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to the next lecture of English literature. In last session we have discussed that Antonio, a Venetian merchant, is hanging out with his friends Salarino and Silanio on a street in Venice. Antonio is sad, though he claims he doesn't know why. Instead of trying to cheer him up, his friends Silanio and Salarino volunteer reasons why he might be depressed. They suggest that maybe he was worried about all the big ventures he has financed at sea. His ships are out there with goods. If they make it back safely, he will be rich. But if they don't, he will be in trouble. Antonio insists that his merchandise at sea is not the cause of his sadness. He has diversified his assets. So no single venture can make or break his fortunes. Even if some ships fail, others are bound to make it. So today we will continue the reading and explanation of Act 1, Scene 1. Setting is also the same. It is Venice, a street in Venice, where Antonio, Salarino and Silanio are there. And we will also discuss the different examples of simile and personification in today's lesson. Okay, starting with the dialogue of Salarino, first of all I will read the lines and then I'll tell you the meanings of these underlined hard words and then I will do the explanation. My wind, cooling my broth. My wind means my breath. Cooling my broth, broth means soup. When the soup is very hot, what do? We blow winds from our mouth to cool it. Similarly, he says, my wind cooling my broth. While I would be cooling my soup with my breath, that would remind me of the wind that is so fierce at sea. Would blow me to an ague. Would blow me to an ague means would make me shake with fear. Why fear? It would make me shake with fear as if I suffered from an ague. Ague means shivering fever or high fever. When I thought what harm a wind too great at sea might do. A wind too great. A wind too great means a stormy wind in the ocean. I should not see the sandy hourglass run. Sandy hourglass mean, as you know, before the invention of clocks and watches, how do we used to measure time? Sand glasses served as clocks. The sand clock, which had 2 cylinders, one dropping sand into the other, that was the measure of time. So looking the sand in that also reminds Salarino of the sand at sea. But I should think of shallows and of flats. Shallows means places at sea where the water is not very deep, and so the ship is in danger of being wrecked. And flats are those sandbanks which are fatal too for ships. And see my wealthy Andrew docked in sand. Wealthy Andrew means wealthy ship. Docked in sand, stuck in sandbank. Wailing her high top lower than her ribs. Wailing her high top. Wailing her high top means lowering or burying the top mast. Mast is that flagpole of the ship. So he says wailing her high top lower than her ribs. Ribs means body of the ship. This is personification used here. And you might be familiar with the term. What is the meaning of personification? Personification is another figure of speech, which means when a human quality is given to a non-human or non-living thing, that is called personification. So do ships have ribs? No, it's a human quality. Similarly, in the next line, to kiss her burial. Kissing is also not it's a human quality, not a non-human quality. So personification is used. Okay, to kiss her burial. The ship is sunk and dead.